Well, it's a pleasure to come in and talk to you about the work that we've done with Trenegy. And to really understand that, you need to understand Flotek. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of where we were and then what our needs were and why they greatly exceeded our expectations in the engagement we had with them. At Flotek, if you go back to pre-COVID, it was a company that had been declining for a number of years, and COVID exacerbated the problem. And so we went into survival mode for a couple of years, which means almost no investment in our systems and our platforms, and simply trying to retain enough revenue for us to sustain the company. And I'm delighted to say that we survived COVID. At the same time, what we did was we arrived at a place where our revenues for 2021 were about $43 million, más o menos. And as we came into 2022, we were trying to look for how do we take the company into a new direction and on a new track. And we were able to secure a contract with one of the leading pumping companies in the industry, ProFrac, for 30 fleets for 10 years, which equals about $200+ million in revenue a year. And if you were to look at our numbers, which are publicly filed in Q3 of 2022, we actually did more revenue than we did in the year 2021 full year. So it gives you some idea of how much we scaled up. Now we scaled up though, and without the systems to really support it. So what do you do when that happens and you really don't have the internal talent to do that? You reach out. And we looked at a number of firms and we selected Trenegy. Integrity was one of the things that people described, true identification and empathy with the companies they work for, and their supply of their talent, the quality of the people on their team was outstanding, and it matched what we needed here in the company. And so they also were physically fairly close to us, which meant we thought they could get here quicker if we had a problem. But one of the first things that I'd give Trenegy a lot of credit for was we were in the throes of deciding, do we need a new ERP system? And it's an expensive decision. Everyone that's ever made that knows that the transition from one system, even within the same vendor to another, could be $3-5 million. And after taking a look at our system and how we're using it, the first advice they gave us was you shouldn't move to a new one until you know how to use the one you have. And that's a $5 million savings and a piece of advice that was tremendously valuable to our company, and that's the kind of trusted advisor that we believe that we hired when we hired Trenegy. That decision allowed us to scope out what we needed to do in order to understand our internal processes to make a difference for Flotek immediately. And imagine going from 43 million in a year to nearly 50 million in a quarter. The number of transactions that we're doing, our order to cash process, how we're doing our purchase orders, et cetera, all of those things needed to be revamped. And the Trenegy team came in and did that for us. And to give you an example of where we were, our DSOs were well over 100 days if we go back into 2021. And if we look at something that happened in December, we literally delivered the chemicals, provided the purchase order within 72 hours. And that kind of change in order to cash has allowed a company that is strapped for cash, because you can't grow this rapidly without having a working capital problem, to actually bridge without having to borrow additional money. That's a tremendous help to a company that is really cash short, is growing rapidly, is that order to cash process and how you really generate the funds to grow your own company. They made a huge difference in that. And they did that by working with the whole of the company. It wasn't a finance effort, it was a total company effort where we're looking in the field, we're looking at our vendors, we're looking at our JDE system, we're looking at the entry of that data here, and we're saying, how do we streamline that process where we can go to something where we can literally, and many of our customers now, we're collecting within 10 days. When you have those kinds of goals, then you really need a partner that can help you get the systems in place to do that. We were excited to work with Trenegy. Just a tremendous success for the company in all aspects. We set out to do the project. It was about a 5-month long, all total. 3 months was really intensive, and the last 2 months we've been following up. And there's not a single metric that was included in the project that we haven't exceeded our expectations. And seldom do you get to do a testimonial for a vendor like that. Most of the time I have a list of complaints that I'd want to read at the end. to make sure you knew, but there's just nothing here that I can say other than I think you'd make a good choice if you went with Trenegy to improve your internal processes. A big part of transforming a company is establishing new processes. And when you do establish a new process, it's not just developing the routine of doing that, it's being able to train the new people that are coming in and retaining that kind of corporate memory as you go forward. I think a big thing that Trenegy brought to us was the fact that we retrained our people in how to do all of the processes associated with order to cash, procurement, accounts payable. And not only did we train them, we created corporate memory by including that training in videos as well, so that we not only have we changed the company, we have the ability to change every employee that joins it, and so that we're able to maintain that level of effectiveness as a company. And it's that sort of training that is not just fixing the problem that you have, but it's ensuring that it's fixed for the long term. And that's a value that I think Trenegy brings to the market.